I'm so grateful to be joined here by Ashley Langeliers, who is the clinical manager of the CARD Fresno office, and she's been talking with us about working with children on the autism spectrum when they're older. A lot of you have written in and said that, you want more information about that. You've got kids that are older. I'm thrilled that you're here, and this is exactly the conversation that we should be having, because ABA, we know, is effective at creating progress for all of our kids, wherever they are on the spectrum, whatever age they are. But there's the little asterisk there that everybody's always aware of. The studies that we've seen for autism, the sort of the broader studies where we hear all the numbers that everybody gets so excited about, they're usually kids that are between the ages of 3 and 5? Isn't that the normal range?
Yeah.
And so what I hear from parents all the time is, okay, I started it and my child's 8. I know about ABA now, my child started, or my child's 15 and I'm going to start ABA, and they want to know, where am I going to end up? And first of all, I have to say, that's a totally rational thing to ask. That's a totally rational thing to feel. And I want you to know that we all felt that way. My child was 3 when we started ABA, and that was the first question that I asked. And I asked it on a regular basis. Where are we going to end up? Where are we going to end up? And the answer that I was always told was, we don't know, but we're going to make progress. So that's when I was starting at 3. So put it through that filter. But when parents say to you, with a 15-year-old, we're coming in, we're doing ABA, where are we going to end up? What do you guys say?
Well, I think you're right. It's a lot easier. There's so much more research on younger kids, or what's considered, early intervention. It's a lot easier to kind of support what you're saying by a ton of research articles.
Right. Here it is. Here's the science.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's definitely so much more research that's needed on ABA with older populations. But I think I like to tell parents, I think your child, regardless of whether, they had ABA before, it doesn't really matter that they're 8 or 9 or 10, they can still learn and they can still make progress. And the CARD 2 curriculum and CARD 2 intervention is tailored around, functional skills, adaptive skills, and family priority. So I think it's really important, especially when you get an older client in, to ask the client and the family, what are your long-term goals for your child? Do you want them to have, obviously, lasting and meaningful friendships? Do you want them to go to college? Do you want them to live independently? What do you want for your child? And that's a great starting off point. Obviously, I think when it's easier after children have been in intervention for a while, for even a lot of times we'll say around 6 months, give me this long, let me get an idea about what their acquisition rate is, how fast they do learn. And then it's a little bit easier to provide individual prognosis, but as far as, a blanket statement.
Yeah. And I wonder, too, because when the children are older, it seems like the division is greater, too. When kids are younger, and people always want to know, are they high functioning or whatever, and kids tend to be more in a lump sum. But when they're older, it seems like the division is greater, the gap is wider, and, we're all a part of this spectrum. But I know that there are some of you out there that when we ask you, what are your long-term goals for your child, that right now, today, even with a 15-year-old, you're saying to yourself, toileting. And you are a part of this journey and a part of this family, and we get it. But that's attainable. That's absolutely attainable. And there are others of you who are watching that, you have the 17-year-old child and you're saying, I want my child to be able to go to college and be able to live in the dorms. And that those are 2 wildly different sets of goals, but they're both attainable with ABA. And I just feel like that gets missed a lot.
It does. I hear so many times even parents just say, well, I was told ABA is for little kids only, or ABA is only for kids if you think they can catch up to their typically developing peers. That's all it's for.
Right.
And that's just horrible because it's not true.
Totally
I think I've heard you mention several times, everyone can use ABA, everyone can benefit from ABA. No one, I can think of really no one who doesn't benefit from individualized instruction.
Right. Right.
So it's just a very common misconception, I think, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, everybody on the spectrum and all your family members that aren't on the spectrum. For the families that, there was literally a mom who wrote in and said, I really want to do ABA with my son, but I just can't make myself do it because I know it's going to have a negative impact on my older daughter. And of course, it's hard for the siblings. It's hard because a lot of attention gets given to the child that's getting all that therapy. But my thing was there are benefits too. There are big benefits, and ABA for the whole family, ABA for everyone, and it kind of rubs off. It has its way of. I've heard people say ABA was the best parenting training that we ever could have had, and it made a difference of how we lived our lives, and I certainly feel that way. So beneficial for everyone, but keeping expectations where? How does a parent figure out what to feel about expectations? Should we have expectations or just let it go? Yeah, tough one, right?
I mean, I think expectations are very healthy in a way, because I feel like when you don't have expectations, maybe the chances are a little bit more likely that you'll just kind of like give up. I think there should always be goals.
Okay.
And you should never lose sight of the goals that you have for your child.
Okay.
And I think just being very open probably with your ABA provider about what your goals are, because then you can have a very honest discussion about maybe what's realistic and what will be attainable based on what you've seen in treatment so far. But I would think a lot of it is just about being very honest with your provider and about what you want for your child, what you want for your family. And even like your siblings, I thought that was really important, because I always think about siblings of children with autism. And I think for older kids too, a goal might just be that they have a meaningful relationship with their sibling. And if just like a meaningful friendship, sibling relationships are so important, especially as we age.
Absolutely.
So to see progress in one child could really have even though it might be hard, in the immediate time, it can have a very lasting impact as they age. So.
Absolutely. And, and I also like to bring up, too, that it might seem in the short run that it's attention taken away from the child. But if the child improves, so that some challenging behavior that was taking up a whole lot of time, it could actually translate into more time with the neurotypical child down the road, long term. But in any case, we're out of time because we have to let you go. But I thank you so much for being here and giving us so much hope, because that's what I hear is that, have your goals and go in and talk about it and work towards those. Not being told, let go of dreams and hopes for your child. That's what I hear is hope. That's why we love the BCBA people and the ABA people and everybody who works with children and gets it. It's a wonderful thing, because we've gone to places where we don't hear that. So thank you for being in here. I look forward to having you back in the coming weeks from time to time when we can get you away from the assessment center. And if you have questions after the fact, you're watching this rebroadcast and you had a question for Ashley and somebody wrote in and said, thank you, Ashley. But if you have questions or comments for Ashley after the fact, we have a way of getting a hold of her. So feel free to pose your questions whenever is convenient for you.